everyone to know, those of you who are not present today for the April 17th session. And I wanted to share with you that I owe you. I'm going to start sharing. Okay, so the rubric that I think you are looking at now. If you could confirm that, please. Are you looking at the rubric?
No, we
Yes.
are.
Yes.
No, you're
Yes.
not? Yes, you are?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the rubric addresses some aspects like the quality of the comments, the initial posting, or we call the original posting and replies, the participation in the learning community, and the quality of writing and proofreading. What I'm going to do is we're going to review the first column here. Once it says number 4, I'm going to upload it to the LMS. You take a look at it, and then when you give some analysis to it, make some changes if we need to, we can leave it as the official one. Okay, but in terms of the quality of the comments, students' comments are clearly connected with the assigned readings, other course materials. Addresses all required elements in the assignment. Thoughtful and reflective posts and arguments are well supported. So this is going to be applied to the postings in general. They're not going to be applied for each one of them. But in general, what I would like you to consider, to bear in mind, is that if the post has to do with, for example, figures of speech, or it's open to more areas such as autobiographical aspects of the author, or sociocultural and historical settings, that's basically the what the post has to be about, and not other aspects. So that's why it says it has to be connected with the assigned readings. Thoughtful and reflective, because it's not merely a repetition of facts, but an elaboration of one idea in which you are clearly argumenting something. Okay. Because you're considering a fact, you're considering a piece of information, but you are processing the information so that you, as an active reader, are taking a stand, or are filtering the information so as to create your own thought, your original thought, your argument about that. In terms of the posting, well, it has to refer that you actually read the material, right? That you're not posting because you were given 1 week, you forgot to post, and then on Friday, last day, you're going to post something just out of the blue, but it has no it's not clearly connected with the reading assignment. Because you're posting, you're going to be waiting for someone to reply to your post. So you need to give the rest of the members of this learning community some time to provide a feedback. So you cannot wait till the last day, to the last moment, because you're not going to give time to the rest to answer, to post a reply. So that's also important. Okay, consider to give the rest of the members of the learning community some time to reply. And in connection to the replies, they have to be connected with the reading material, the reading assignment, and the reply has to be beyond the I agree that we mentioned last class, but it needs to move the conversation forward. Okay, so after the reply, maybe someone else can post a reply, because it's not closing the conversation, but stating something that could be further developed by another member. In terms of the participation in the learning community, the postings stimulate further discussion, builds on peer responses. So your posting can focus on, can be about one specific argument. You can ask a related question. Okay, so you open up the discussion, so you give other members the opportunity to join the conversation, and or you can make a positional statement. You can play the devil's advocate, right? You can actually say, but okay, but what if this had gone in a different direction? What if I don't know, Jonathan Edwards could have a double life, and actually he was being not quite honest with his demanding of going back to a more strict moral code. All the what if, that's why I meant by playing the devil's advocate, that maybe you're not just completely, you don't completely agree with what has been stated by the previous comments made by your classmates, but you go in a different direction. The what if this could have been done or gone wrong or in a different direction. So much for the diverse thinking, right? And finally, the quality of writing and proofreading implies that the posts have to be grammatically correct, spelling, no punctuation errors, so that communication flows, and we don't have to stop trying to find out what the person who posted was trying to say. Basically, because we're not having the chance to listen to the posts, because I think we're not given that chance in the LMS. We cannot record the posts. We have to type them. So grammar and spelling, not the mechanics, please, they need to help us to understand and not hinder communication. So I'm going to upload this rubric, which is not original, but I took a look at several different rubrics, and I think I took the best of them according to what I considered that was applicable in this forum participation rubric. So take a look at it. I'm going to upload it as a Word file, meaning it's not written in stone yet. And then after you check it out and you provide some feedback, I can upload it as a PDF file, and then no changes are to be made. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Questions, comments? Are we good?
Professor, I don't know if you said it, but when is the final date to upload or to have written a comment and a response?
No, I haven't said it, and because we are, sort of getting used to the system. That's why I didn't give a specific tight and strict date for this one. But for the rest of them, we are going to have like a specific date, okay? But for this one, let's get used to the system first. And so probably, we're let's say we're talking about today's April the 17th. Maybe we can give one more week, considering even the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Okay, one more week to post. So you get like 7, 8, 9 dates, 10 dates considering today. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So for today's session, we were meant to review or let's see. because we discussed Mayflower Compact and Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Did you have a time to review some of the historical background at that time? Were you able to see, in, I don't know if you're not sharing the desktop. I mean, you're not looking at the desktop. I'm going to be sharing the syllabus here, and in the syllabus, you can find a link, which is ushistory.org, and I uploaded some links to the LMS in the same section where we are discussing about the pre-colonial and colonial period and Puritanism, etc., etc. So if you didn't have time to look at the information provided in this website, which is quite good because it's short, it's not complex, it's quite friendly with the people who don't have much time, and at least provides a starting point. If you're more interested in history, probably you can find more information, but at least in this website you can take a look at some basic background to understand the the socio-historical context. Did you have time to read? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I look at the link,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't find one of the parts of the historical background, which is English separatists, exile, and the Plymouth colony.
Okay, that wasn't there.
I didn't find it. I look at all the chapters because the link sends you to like an index, and on the index I didn't find it, but I got like close to the part of the history where I think it belongs, and I didn't find it. I didn't find anything about it.
Okay. I will post a separate link for this one. In general terms, you need to be familiar with the reasons why some of the pilgrims decided to leave England. What were the specific reasons for this decision? In which way the people who boarded ships and went to this new world, decided to separate themselves from the Anglican Church. Remember that the Anglican Church was a church created by Henry VIII, and in this sense, after he decided to become the head of the church, of the Anglican Church, many different religions stemmed from this religion, which was different from the Catholic religion, and you need to be familiar with the specific reasons why the Protestants had to flee England after religious persecution and end up in some of the colonies, which some of them were successful enough to remain and receive more community members, and some of the colonies actually disappeared because of weak leadership. But I'm going to send a separate link so you can have access to this content, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem. My question, were you able to read some of these? Letters from an American Farmer, on being brought from Africa to America, or Common Sense Pamphlet, Chapter 1. Were you able to?
Which ones? Oh, those ones. No, I didn't. I just attempt to read the historical background of the first part, the Puritanism. In fact, you also uploaded, I think, a PowerPoint, a PPT, and I got until Revolutionary Age, which is also in that PPT. But I just did the part of Puritanism.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you the website in which we can read On Being Brought from Africa to America, which is a very short poem. It's just a one stanza poem written by Phyllis Wheatley. Okay, and we can read it together. Okay, this is one of the images that somehow portrays the character of Phyllis Wheatley, a very young African slave, African American later, and this is the poem. So the poem says, "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand that there's a God, that there's a Savior too. Once I redemption neither sought nor knew. Some view our sable race with scornful eye. Their color is a diabolic dye. Remember, Christians, Negroes, black as Cain, may be refined and join the angelic train." As you can see, a very short poem written by Phyllis Wheatley. So as you have not read this one before, at least can you give me your perceptions about this poem? What do you think this poem is about? How do you feel about the poem in general terms? What are your guts about this? Do you have any idea?
I
thoughts?
think, yes.
Go on.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
To me, it's like, even though she had been through hell, let's say, there was supposed to be a God, a savior for them as well. And it seems like she would have a kind of hope that everything could be better for them, because they were in such a difficult, complicated situation. They were like not living their lives and living what their masters told them. So yes, I think that's it's like she expecting to have hope in the future, or for a better life, something like that. I don't know.
Good, excellent. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Does anyone else have a different idea or agrees with Laura?
Professor? Me.
Who's me?
Why don't you go first?
No, you go ahead. I can wait.
Thank you. It's short and sweet. Related with what Laura said. I think it is strictly related with slaverism. And the first attempts of it. I mean, this is the first part of the slaves, the black slaves, and how they were conquered. And yeah, I think it is stipulating that feeling. Sorry.
All right, thank you for sharing. Javiera, right? Okay, Diana?
Yes.
Good.
And I was thinking something similar to Javiera. I just feel like maybe she's saying that she finally got rid of some evilness that was in her life, that was surrounding her, or that owned her. So now she's finally free, and she feels like there is salvation for her, and that she can finally feel saved and safe. Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All of your thoughts are valid, because we need to get in touch with this from our emotional part, from our emotional side, and also from our logical one, right? Any other would like to refer to the poem or express his or her own perception of it?
Me?
Who's me?
Rocio.
Rocio, go on, Rocio.
Okay, I totally agree with my classmates, and I also find that the person, it it's that the girl in the picture who wrote this poem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
I believe
she's supposed to be the one.
she feels really grateful for having the opportunity to step up from a pagan land into Christianity, into coming into the realization that God loves her and that God is the Savior, and it came to change her life for the better. Even though she knows that some people discriminate her for her race, like saying that she's not worthy of the love of God because it says their color is a diabolic dye, discriminating her for her color, for her race, saying that she's not worthy of the love of God. But she says that remember, Christians and all of that may be refined and join the angelic train. So she confirms here that she's also worthy and able to become Christian, even though it doesn't matter her race, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the final message. That's the final powerful message, right? Anyone else would like to join the conversation?
Hello, may I say something?
Catalina, of course, go on.
Actually, because of what my classmate said, I think that at the time they were using Christianity like as a way of educate people, because slaves didn't have proper education, and they started using Christianity in order to get them and to have more people in the congregation. For instance, I mean, even now, Christians all the time that try to gather more people into their group. So I think that was something that they started to do at that time, because as in the sermon, the sinners in the hands of an angry God. That was like a sermon, really, really threatening, right? And now they are trying to make it like more familiar, in order to feel like Christianity is more approachable, or something like that.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, exactly. I agree with several of your comments. Anyone else would like to join the conversation?
May I have the word?
Carlos, go on.
That I think this is like an introduction of somebody to induce more people to this. This is not Christianity. What religion is this?
We can call it Christianity, yes.
With this kind of Christianity to indoctrinate more black people and those people that feel discriminated, the slaves of this age. But I think that to become more friendly to their society, because they are being really like they are already being discriminated by the non-slaves, by the aristocrats, and etc. So I think that or you join to our religion, or you are going to suffer even more without our adoctrination. What's the name of to our doctrine?
Yes.
So I think that's my opinion, that even though they do not join, if they join or not, they are going to suffer either way.
Right. Thank you, Carlos, for sharing. Anyone else would like to join? There are many interesting aspects of analyzing this poem, because when you read in the first line, "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land," it's very interesting, the choice of words. Mercy brought me. you are familiar with the concept of personification, right? When we're giving an abstract concept such as mercy, the possibility of bringing someone to a new land, and pagan land, why not homeland, or brought me from my country, brought me from my island, brought me from Africa. Why not using Africa, but pagan land? So that's one interesting word choice that we need to pay close attention to. Second line, taught my benighted soul to understand. My benighted soul, benighted, right? What's the meaning of benighted? And also my soul to understand. She's not using taught my benighted heart to understand, taught my benighted mind to understand. She is using the word soul, considering that at that time, one of the arguments that would support slavery is that actually slaves did not have a soul, were not human beings, so they could be sold, traded, right? They could be bought, because it's easier for someone that understands that these people do not have a soul, so it's easy for them to not to complicate with the Bible. Now that there's a God, that there's a Savior too, that there's a God, that there's a, she's repeating the same structure. We're going to see to what this is called in technical terms, but we need to pay attention to that repetition. Is there not because she didn't have the words, but she wants to stress something with this repetition, right? And the next line was, I redemption neither sought nor knew. What's redemption? Why is she using the word redemption? Okay, what can we connect redemption to? Can we connect redemption with Christianity, or with its slavery, or in which areas of life is the word used? Then in the following line, she's using, she says, some view our sable rays with scornful eye. She's using sable rays, quite sophisticated word for that time, a poetic word. Why not using black rays, or dark rays, or dark skin rays? Okay, she's using a very sophisticated word, which tell us something about her and about her experience with slavery, as slavery was a unique experience for the Africans who were kidnapped and were brought into this system. She was bought and almost adopted by a Christian family who taught her how to read and write. And she became fond of reading, the classics, and she was able to even write as a sophisticated writer, basically contradicting the fact that slaves, did not have a soul, that they were not educated, that they were not able to live in society and share, basically that they were a different race with no privileges, right? And she's actually denying this with her upbringing and education. Another idea here is their color is a diabolic dye. Diabolic dye. It could be probably D-Y-E, the spelling now, but the idea is, why is she using the word diabolic? Their color is a diabolic dye. And then in the next line, she's using the expression black as Cain. So black as Cain, diabolic. There's a connection between darkness, between the black color and something evil, right? Devil. As black people as being descendant of Cain, which is an evil figure, an evil biblical figure, the brother who killed his own brother. So, but the final message is what a classmate of yours said. The final message is everyone can be saved. I think it was Rocio. Everyone has the opportunity to be saved, to go to heaven. One of the messages here, one of the mysteries, or one of the interpretations, possible interpretations, is who is she talking to here? Remember, Christians, Negroes, black as Cain. Is she talking to Christians in general, specifically slave owners, white slave owners, racist slave owners? Is she talking to white Christians and Negroes? Is she giving a message to everyone, or only to the ones that need to change their perspective about the future of slaves? So first, the specific word choices that she is making lead us to understand that this poem was not written in a carefree manner. I mean, it's not just one afternoon that she was looking at the clouds and she decided to draft a piece of work and then, voila, inspiration. No, this is a very carefully designed poem. Now, 'twas mercy brought me from my pagan land. 'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land. Do you have any memory about that?
I was thinking about, like, she's talking about mercy, but while I was reading about the background information about this period of time, I found that the transatlantic slave trade was like really brutal in some cases, but she through what she wrote, it makes me think that she was at some point like grateful, but in some other cases, like it was like a really more like a punishment for them, because it says that there were like two different forms in which they were like trade from Africa to the British new colonies. And it says like it is like the loose packing, in which they were like fewer slaves traveling from that area to the other one, but it is also like the tight packing, in which there were like really like more slaves, and they were not like comfortable at all traveling from that far. So I think that this is one reality, but we have another one which is totally different.
Right, exactly. Conditions were fierce in ships, and some African slaves had a different. Were able to actually have a different lifestyle, and particularly Phyllis Wheatley was, I would say, probably, I don't want to say a privileged one, because being a slave is not
yes.
It's not a state, right? But she is, as you said, Romina, she is grateful of this new state of being a Christian and knowing God as a savior, as someone who is revealing to herself a new world. So she's learning about these racism. I mean, actually, she's aware of that.
Yes.
But some of the critics to this poem are connected with particularly that one. She is grateful about being brought in a ship, seeing all her fellows suffer from all different kinds of punishment and even death, and arriving to a new land in which he is actually engaged in household work as a slave, and still she is grateful. Some people may produce a hard criticism to that, having the opportunity to actually to openly criticize the slavery system.
That caught my attention too, because exactly. As you said before, like she was adopted, she had like let's say an opportunity to be more educated, but she is still aware about the
Okay. Oh, so yeah, exactly. Now I want to take you to a different aspect. So first, I want you to pay attention to the word choices that Phyllis Wheatley made in her poem. Right? Why is he using pagan? Because she had many other options. Soul. Why is she using redemption? She said, "I once a redemption neither sought nor knew." Why is she using sable, scornful, okay, diabolic? Pay attention to the word choices that she's making. And the second thing that I want you to pay attention to is the structure of the poem. If you pay attention and you take the rhyme scheme, you find a land rhyming with understand, that would be AA, to rhyming with new, I rhyming with die, so we get AA, BB, C, and K rhyming with train. So whenever we have two lines rhyming, we have a couplet. This is a couplet, this is another couplet, and another couplet. And when we have two couplets rhyming, we have what's called heroic couplets, right? Heroic as a hero, right? The adjective for hero, heroic couplets. When you read this aloud, "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land. 'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land." This has to make sense to you if you remember Shakespeare. If you remember Shakespeare and the iambic pentameter that was quite used in his time, at least for Elizabethan sonnets, you have that she's using the same patterns, right? The same metric pattern. "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand." So you have 5 iambs in the same line, and the second one is stressed, right? So what this tells us, right, is that Phyllis Wheatley was quite educated and was she knew well the classics. She knew well Shakespeare, for instance, or the iambic pentameter, at least. Okay, so I insist this is a carefully designed, carefully drafted poem. It looks very tricky because it looks, short, but it's quite complex. Okay. Questions, comments? No questions, no comments? Yes, ma'am?
You were talking about the word slave. election, and in the part where she says that God saved her from her pagan land, and then she says, I can't see the poem now.
I'm sorry. I'll share it with you again. Sorry, I apologize for that.
No, it's okay.
There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes, it's starting to show. Yes, and yes, and then it says, "Taught my beneath soul to understand," and then beneath it is like ignorant, right? Like unaware of the knowledge of God and all of that. So maybe in here she's trying to express that even though she was captured by these pilgrims or the people that were doing colonies in there, that was a sign of mercy for her, because she was pagan. She was pagan, and she was living in a pagan country, and then in there they worship false gods for her, which are gods that nature god, like the sun, I believe in all of those, many gods. And that's she's trying to show that the fact that these Christians colonized her country or her land, it was mercy. It was God mercy, so that they saved her from her ignorance and her paganism, I believe. So I think she's showing that she was saved somehow by this colonialism process.
Very good point. Very good point. Considering that some people believe that there's always a divine plan for you, so you may not be aware about the directions that you are going to be taken. But people who are Christian usually believe that there's a divine plan, so they just need to wait for the plan to reveal itself. So in this sense, she understood that she was undergoing through a process in which she and her and other fellows were kidnapped from Africa and suffered through even torture. And she learned that it was all for a purpose, that there was something in behind this situation, to be taken to a different land to finally know Christianism, and that's why she is thankful for this. And that's one way, exactly, one way to look at this. Comments, questions?
Question. Did you already talk about the meaning of the word benighted?
I think, Javiera, that Rocio was referring to that, but go ahead.
She already talked about it, right?
I think, Rocio, you referred to it as ignorant, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And also says overtaken by darkness. I wanted to add that.
Overtaken by darkness. That's a very good contribution, because when there's darkness, usually darkness is connected with ignorance. It's connected with not actually knowing. When you see, light is connected with knowledge. Light is connected with realizing what's around you. Exactly. The fact that she has become a religious entity, a religion person, some people may consider this contradiction with denying her previous social background. communities in Africa which have many gods, who worship many gods, or who worship natural figures, are, well, equally respected from a sociological point of view as any other community, Christian or not. So, but anyway, she is developing a different identity in this new world, an identity in which she is able to express herself. I insist, this destiny that she had was not a quite common one. Educated slaves who were taught how to read and write by their own masters, who were even encouraged to publish poems. It's not the it's really it's really uncommon. Okay, it's not the rule. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. In the context in which slavery was developed in the New World, and I'm not saying just in the United States or the British colonies, but also in many other countries, slaves had no rights. They were considered as much as cattle or a horse that that was strong enough to pull, or carry something. So Phyllis Wheatley is an exception, and someone who was able to express his own idea and was obviously having a different, or shaping a different identities in this new world. Now, do you have any comments or questions about the specific word choices or the structure? Is she stating? Is she hiding something? Sometimes what you don't say is equally important or is as heavy as what you say. Is she not saying anything that you think somehow is becoming more relevant in the poem?
Okay. Good morning. I believe that the poem, because in the end it says, "Remember, Christian, Negroes black as Cain may be refined." And refinement is usually not a delicate, slow process. And Christians have long believed that through fire, like steel, they can become as sharp as a blade. They can be cast as a better person. They can cast out their impurities. So I believe that what she's saying implicitly here is that everything that she and her brothers have been through, it's a test from God himself, that he took them from their pagan land, and he gave them the opportunity to become better. And lastly, the angelic train wouldn't be this referring to the Underground Railroad, that system of interconnected routes and safe houses to free the slaves?
Well, yeah, there's a connection to that train, but I think the date would not coincide. We need to double check that, but that is a wonderful connection you're making, because later on we're going to consider aspects connected with the Middle Passage, with what Romina was mentioning, the conditions for the shipping of slaves, the different assignments that they were given in the New World, and later on some important figures in when we read slave narratives that were part of a process of saving some of the slaves, just like what happened with if you watch the movie The Schindler's List. There were some people who engaged in helping slaves and helping them to escape north or Canada. And basically what was Miguel mentioning, right? So at some point we're going to go deeper into through the slave narratives. We're going to go deeper into the different experiences that some of the slaves had that we can become familiar through reading these works. Wonderful comment made by Miguel, that the process of becoming saved sometimes involves being tested. If you have watched biblical movies, or you have read the Bible, or you have read biblical stories, sometimes the protagonist of a story undergoes a harsh test in which he comes he comes as an improved version of himself. Okay, even Jesus at some point seems to have been tested when he says that it's not his will, right, that needs to be fulfilled or done, but God's. So as Miguel said, tests are one process in which the participant of this situation may become improved, or as we can see from, we can borrow from the poem, can be refined. Comments, questions, anything that you want to say before we close the session? What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a link to a Prezi that I found that was very interesting. Not the best material, but at least it has many interesting aspects to discuss. Next session that we're going to have is going to be on Wednesday morning. And on Wednesday morning, I would like to discuss with you and analyze the letters from an American farmer and common sense. Remember that the letters from an American farmer is just letter 3. I think there are like 12 or 13 letters, but particularly this one develops the idea of the identity of the American. He ponders about what makes an American, considering that people from many different countries were arriving to United States. That was probably New England at that time. And the point is how someone who lived in Europe a couple of months became a new person by just arriving to a new place, and which were the different roles that these people assumed or were assigned just by living in this new world. And the Common Sense pamphlet, just chapter 1, you're welcome to read more, of course, but we're going to discuss chapter 1. We need to understand in which context were these two works written. Remember that so far we have seen a compact, a Mayflower Compact, which is a historical document, a historical / legal document, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, which is a sermon. And now we're going to see, we're going to read, a poem, the one that we just analyzed, a letter, which may be seen as a chronicle, and the Common Sense pamphlet, which has a specific purpose in terms of in which way is the audience conceived. Because when you read a pamphlet and you are the audience, someone is trying to convince you about a political thought. Okay, so those two please for Wednesday for next session, and probably we're going to review some of the facts and events that took place at that time, particularly the ones that ignited the revolution. Okay, so probably, I don't know, the Boston Patriots. I'm looking at the syllabus in the historical background, probably the historical but from the check if you want the link to Prezi by someone who's covering the poem on being brought from Africa to America, and finally the two literary works for next session. Miguel, the image, I don't know.
It was frozen for a moment.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe
Yes.
can you repeat what you said, because I didn't get it. It was frozen like for 20 seconds.
Ouch. Okay. Okay. So to sum up very quickly, for next session, you will have to read letters from. Are you seeing the syllabus now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Letters from an American farmer. Only letter number 3. Because it deals
okay.
with it deals with the identity of the immigrant in this new land, and the common sense pamphlet, chapter 1.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would suggest a couple of these, but that's totally up to you to understand the historical background at the time. Because before a revolution, you need to understand what happened before. So people wanted to start or ignite a revolution, right?
Okay, Professor, could you please mark the ones that we could like read from the historical background, or
Sure.
all of them?
Okay, I highlighted 3.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, all of them are interesting, but basically these ones, specifically the last one, that gives you an idea about the sum up of the different events that finally led the people to wanted to rebel from the monarchy. Okay.
This is on the link.
Well, these are in the section in the ushistory.org. What I'm going to do, I'm going to complement the material in the LMS and make it clearer. But if you want to go ahead and start reading, you can go to the website ushistory.org to find the historical background. And I'm not sure if this reading material is there. I'm going to double check, if it's not, I'm going to create the folder today. Okay.
Okay. For the letters from an American farmer, you're going to upload those?
Yes, letters from an American farmer, letter number 3, and the common sense pamphlet, chapter 1.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
No.
All right, so we're calling this a day. We're finishing the session. Have a good day. I'll see you on Wednesday, right?
You too.
Okay. Bye, Professor. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. You too. Have a nice day too. Bye bye. Bye bye.